Tomorrow's the big day, the South Carolina primary. And earlier this week, Nikki Haley already delivered her concession speech, kind of. Well, she's not going anywhere. No matter what happens.
But instead of focusing on how to make America stronger tomorrow, some people want to know if I'm going to cave today.
Don't do it.
We've all heard the calls for me to drop out. We all know where they're coming from. The political elite, the party bosses, the cheerleaders in the commentator world. The argument is familiar. They say I haven't won a state, that my path to victory is slim. They point to the primary polls and say I'm only delaying the inevitable. Why keep fighting when the battle was apparently over after Iowa? Look, I get it. In politics, the herd mentality is enormously strong. A lot of Republican politicians have surrendered to it.
Wait, why are you shaking your head?
I don't like this woman.
Why? Because she's the only choice we have, because Trump might have dementia like Biden.
Okay,
We're talking about the most demanding job in human history. You don't give it to someone who's at risk of dementia.
Wow.
You give it to someone who's disciplined, someone who can work day and night for 8 straight years. Trump and Biden are 2 old men who are only getting older.
Play the clip. Oh, I will never run against Donald Trump.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that.
How is she going to win me back, MAGA back?
I
How
know
is she going
Charles
to win us
Barkley
back?
asked the same thing on his show on King Charles or whatever that called. What's that show called?
I don't
With
know.
Oprah's best friend, and it's on CNN.
Oprah's best friend.
Oh,
Gail?
Gail. Yeah, King.
They got
Gail
a show?
King. Yeah, they have a show.
Oh, I got to look this up.
Gail King. So, oh, yes, it is called King Charles because it's Gail King. And he said, you can't win me back.
No.
All right, with more on that, let's welcome back to the program a returning guest. We had him on 4 years ago, Andy Brack. He is the editor and publisher of the Charleston City Paper and the State House Report. You can follow him on Twitter at AC Brack, B-R-A-C-K. Good morning, Mr. Brack. How are you?
Good morning.
So the date,
How are y'all?
it's finally arrived. I feel like we've been talking about the South Carolina primary for a few weeks now because we've been waiting. What's the vibe like in South Carolina?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Nikki Haley either, but I think she's 1,000% preferable to Donald Trump. So I don't really care if she wins you back, because I just think that she's got to prevail to prevent Trump from getting back in office. That's my opinion. Fortunately, I have a political column and I can say these things. But right now, the dance is not called the Charleston. It's called the South Carolina, and we've got lots of people who are going to be voting, and I think people are questioning, how could she win? Well, if you go to charlestoncitypaper.com, I'll tell you how she can win, and it's a game of numbers. In our state, we have an open primary. That means that you don't register by party, and so you can participate in either primary. Earlier this month, 3 weeks ago, only about 130,000 people voted in the Democratic primary out of a pool of 3.2 million.
Jeez.
And so, it was kind of a fait accompli for Biden, so there wasn't much. But what that suggests to me is that there are going to be Democrats and independents and some irritated moderate Republicans who are going to turn out tomorrow. If you look at the numbers, let me tell you how this math works out. Haley is probably going to lose. I mean, I'm not unrealistic, but there is a path. It's a slim path. Out of the 3.1 million voters who haven't voted, about 700 to 800,000 would be considered Republican-based voters, because that's how many people voted 8 years ago in the contested primary. So you assume that of those, say, 750,000 voters, polls show Trump's at about 65%, although it's gone down in the last couple of days. But say 2/3, he'll get 500,000 and Haley will get 250,000. But remember, there's 2.3 million other voters. If she picks up 300 to 400,000 votes, and he doesn't get but about 100,000 of those votes, she could win. Like I said, it's a slim chance.
That's wishful thinking.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying the math is there that she could win. But I don't think that it's going to happen. I think she'll end up getting about 40 to 43%, which is way better than the polls have showed in recent days. There was a poll not too long ago, 3 or 4 days ago, that shows she'd gone from about what was she at? She was at, I think they closed the gap to about 23%, and it was a 35% gap. So she's picked up some, but, we'll have to see.
Here's why it's wishful thinking. I understood Operation Chaos when Rush instituted it way back in the Hillary-Obama race. Operation Chaos will not work here because some of those 3 million people that you're talking about who are Democrats, specifically the black people, they're going to be voting for Donald Trump. And for Nikki Haley to be out there groveling, begging for Democrats to vote for her. Hold on.
She's not doing that.
Yes, she's got her shirt. Listen, sir, I've been involved in politics for 40-some years. I know politics. She got her surrogates out there doing it, and that's why she won't win back people who are MAGA. And I'm damn proud to be MAGA and hope Trump gets back in there.
But quite frankly, if Trump is in jail in 2 or 3 months,
I'm still going to vote for him.
And she's the only candidate that has delegates.
And Trump will still be president of the United States because the qualifications to be president is what? 35 and a citizen of America. And you know what? If it comes time in Illinois and he's running for president, John Anthony will be voting for Donald John Trump.
And so it said polls show consistently that 58 to 60% of Republicans say they won't vote for Trump if he's convicted.
Right.
So I think you got to put that in your pipe and smoke it too.
All right. So you said, but you at the outset of this, you said you don't really care for Nikki Haley.
No.
All right. Well, so how has she rubbed you the wrong way? Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, if you haven't figured it out, I am a known Democrat. So, I don't like her own policy. I never really have. I haven't really. She has not played well with a lot of people, including establishment Republicans. She's built her career on poking at people, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And I don't think politics is a game of addition, not a game of subtraction. I don't think Trump or Haley are playing a game of addition. I think they both are just irritating people left and right.
Well, and you can't, with good conscience, did you vote for Biden in your primary? Were you one of the 130,000?
Yes, I was. I could not. I just didn't think it was authentic for me to go out and try to interfere with another primary. I didn't feel right about it. I know a lot of people who are going to do that, but that's just not me. I mean, I'm going to stick with the guy that I'm backing in the primary and who I'll more than likely end up endorsing.
Okay. You have a state senator, Tim Scott. What are you hearing about him possibly being the VP pick?
He's U.S. Senator.
U.S. Senator. I'm sorry. What did I say? I'm sorry. I meant to say you. Obviously, I know he's a U.S. Senator.
He's actually from Charleston County and grew up right down the road. I don't really understand why, if Trump is the nominee, why he would use Scott, because South Carolina is not a swing state. It's not extra electoral college votes. Perhaps he wants to put a minority candidate on the ticket to try to attract some minority votes. I don't know. But there's also talk about Nancy Mace, who is a congresswoman from Charleston, too, who used to work for him. So, I mean, South Carolina, and also, you guys, if you've been in politics for 40-plus years, you know the game right now is to tell everybody and his brother that you're a possible vice presidential candidate.
True.
So that you make them feel good. So, I mean, who knows what in the world's going to go on.
All right, so what are your job duties tomorrow going to be? Are you going to be at a certain polling place, or how are you going to cover this?
I'm going to go take my daughter to breakfast and have some coffee and probably have a beer later in the day. I have to tell you, we will do a story. The polls will close at 7.
Uh-huh.
There will be some people in line. It ain't going to be busy, okay?
Why? How long have you been early voting there? Has it been voting
It's
season?
It's only been a bit, but it doesn't matter. The polls are not going to be busy. In the Democratic primary, it was a 4% turnout. Generally, in presidential primaries, you're talking about a 12% turnout.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be lots of voters. It's not going to be people, waiting in lines, breathing against each other, and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be pretty swift. They will probably call the race within 30 minutes. So I imagine about 7:15, I'll turn on the TV. I'll look at the AP, see who's called, and we'll make a couple of calls and get a couple of quotes from people and do a story and have something up by 8 o'clock. That's it.
All right. Andy Brack, you can follow him on Twitter at AC Brack. He's editor and publisher of the Charleston City Paper and the State House Report. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Go Trump.
Guys,
Go Trump.
come on down.
All right, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer.